Hello, Voices of Wrestling listener. Dave Ryan here. Have you ever wondered to yourself how many hidden gems are hidden away inside the last years of World Championship Wrestling? Have you ever asked yourself how many tenuous gags can be made about the name Mike Enos? And have you ever thought about what it sounds like for two Irishmen to interpret a very chaotic company through its B show? The answers to all this and more are just a click away. Check out Days of Thunder every second Thursday on the Voices of Wrestling podcast network.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling podcasting network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
To the highway in a brand new day. Gotta let it go. So fast to freedom. Stars tonight together. He'll have me on the stage. 你看到我就怕，头皮发麻，我的手。
Welcome back to Open the Voice Gate for March 20th, 2025. We are members of the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network. You can find us on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network feed or on our own dedicated Open the Voice Gate feed on all podcast platforms and applications. You can follow us on social media at Open Voice Gate. If you'd like to donate to the show, click the link in the show notes. It'll take you to our redcircle.com landing site. Click the red boxes to sponsor this podcast. You can accept a one-time or recurring donation. No obligation whatsoever, but we would like to thank all of our previous donors. I'm one of your hosts. It's your old pal, Mike Spears, joined alongside, as always, Case Lowe, and we're back to the Dragongate grind, Case.
Will this be the shortest Open the Voice Gate in history? There's a real chance it will be, Mike.
I mean, it's just to preview our format that we're going to have for this week. We're going to do a Rey De Parejas check-in, and then we will talk about the upcoming Shun Skywalker quest, SSW Quest IV, coming up next Monday from Shinjuku Face, as well as doing a little bit of a WrestleMania weekend check-in. We're basically a month out, Case.
We are. I just realized that.
Yeah. No, I've got to get like the restaurant reservations done that I want to do.
We taking Paradox out for a night on the town.
I mean, if I need to impress Dragon Kid, I'm willing to do so. It seems like no one else is impressed by Dragon Kid, but I will be.
Yeah, Dragon Kid, Azumi, Starlight Kid, and Mike Spears out of the town. Is that her name? Did I butcher?
Oh no, you nailed it.
Okay, so
you didn't pull a Lanza. You're doing great.
So speaking of pulling a Lanza, look, the Rey De Parejas stuff has been aggressively fine. There's been one match that I think we both really, really liked. One match that I thought was really good, but not great. And the rest of it is just existing. Whereas 2023 and 2024, Rey De Parejas was the highlight of the Dragongate calendar year in ring. 2025, not the case. So we're gonna quickly rip the Band-Aid off on that and do some stuff. I've got a topic planned for Mike that he doesn't know about at the start of the show, but I had come on initially. What I wanted to do today was tell you about all of the stardom that I had watched in preparation for this podcast, because I'm just, All Japan is, I feel the way about All Japan that a lot of people feel about Dragongate, which is like, I respect what they're doing, but it's not for me. And every time an All Japan show drops, I go, I should give that a look. And then I look at the card and I go, man, I don't want to watch that. Now, the Doi stuff I'll check out, and I should, but I don't want to watch All Japan. I am so unimpressed and unenthused by Team 2000X and Noah. That is already getting stale.
Okay, so we went 2.5 months. Okay, cool.
But I'm so out on that. It's still drawing. It's drawing longer than I thought it was going to. But I'm so fucking bored by it. And I don't have an Emmy in 2025 to watch New Japan Cup matches. Now, New Japan. I'm enjoyed the Goto stuff. Enjoyed Fantastic Mania. I'm sure I'll enjoy New Japan when they're in Sumo Hall in April, but I'm out on New Japan Cup. So with all of that going on, and DDT kind of taking a break, and Dragon Gate being in this weird part of their schedule, I went, God, there's no contemporary Japanese wrestling that I'm really into right now. I could bore people with my takes on 2009 CMLL that I was watching last night because that was really enjoyable, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to come on Open the Voice Gate, and I'm going to talk about the Stardom matches that I watched from the March 3rd, 2025 Korakuen Hall show, one of which has a 5-star rating from Dave Meltzer and this incredibly high cage match rating. But I'm going to start with this trios match that has two of the ladies that I'm going to see in Las Vegas on the Dragongate USA show on that Wednesday. I'm going to Stardom fans for a long time creeped me out. They weirded me out. I don't like Rossi on like a personal level. I think the guy is a total sleazebag in an industry filled with sleazebags, but he makes me uncomfortable. But post Marigold, I go, God, they're selling out Korakuen. Good for them. I'm going to watch Stardom. And then I watched about 5 minutes of the trios match on the March 3rd show, the semi-main event. And I said, yeah, I don't know if I like this. Now, I'm going to go back to it. I'll give it another shot. I'm going to watch the main event. I've heard of Tam Nakano. I'd like to see her in this big Stardom main event that everybody seemed to like. But I was going to come on here with a bunch of Stardom takes, but I couldn't do it. I could not focus on that match. It did not grab me, and thus we are here again, possibly with the shortest Open the Voice Gate of all time.
Yeah, I always am real bad about my Stardom viewing in that I come in with like the best notions. I'm like, all right, this is the year. I'm going to do it. And then I don't know what it is, and maybe I should start making my footage kind of desires done much later, I guess. Like, don't do it on January 1st, Mike. What you should do is you should wait until, late January. See how you feel about everything then. Because I always because I feel like the Stardom big shows usually deliver, but they're also an aspect of just it. I felt like for a long time, like the Stardom major shows just took forever, and at least for me, just was not as engaging as it once was. But I feel like with like where that promotion is and how much it's really grown and has shed the Rossi trappings, the pieces are there, and I don't know. Maybe it is like, okay, Dave gave a Lady C match 4.5 stars. Huh. Okay.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, I've heard the name Lady C. I had never seen her work before, and the little bit that I saw it did not grab me. But again, that could be me. I could be wrong. I could have not been focused enough. So perhaps next week we come back and I once again try to tackle Stardom. If anybody, I'll say this. I'm going to watch this Tam Nakano loser leave Stardom match. I don't know the result. I've never heard of the other woman she's wrestling. I don't know who is in Stardom currently. I didn't look ahead. I don't want to know. If anybody has recommendations to watch for the build to that loser leave Stardom match, let me know, because I'll watch those and then I'll watch that main event and I'll try to come back and give it a real honest go.
Okay, that's fair enough. You had something else that I knew that you were going to spring on me.
Yes. Okay, so there was some discourse in the Voices of Wrestling Discord this week about the 30 under 30 project. I think we do that in May every year, so it's coming up. Obviously, it's something that you and I pay close attention to because most of the relevant players on the Dragon Gate roster are under 30 years old. Shun Skywalker still only 28. Yuki Yoshioka, Dragon Dia, Jackie Kame, Mochizuki Jr. The list goes on. It's a very, very young roster, which I think if you're not in the weeds with Dragon Gate, you might have a hard time accepting that I think so many Dragon Gate guys are worthy of nomination, but they're in a weird spot where not only do they have main eventers that are under the age of 30, but if you're going to fill the back half of your ballot out with guys that are brimming with potential, then you also have, your Saharas and Homares and Ryoya Tanakas, and there's a lot of Dragon Gate guys under 30. We've done this 2 years at Voices of Wrestling. This will be the third year. Both years, without question, Shun Skywalker has been my number one. Haven't had to think about it for more than a second. As we approach 2025, Mike, we're in it. We're approaching 30 under 30. I might be bumping Shun Skywalker down to the second spot on my Voices of Wrestling 30 under 30 ballot. First of all, your reaction to that. Second of all, would you like to take a guess as to who I might have ahead of Shun Skywalker.
Well, I mean, I feel like if we're going to take it from May to May case, Shun's 2024 into 2025, although he was the straw that stirred the drink in a lot of different manners, I think when you compare that to 2021 to 2022, 2022 to 2023, or even 2023 to 2024, since Excursion, he has been kind of not as much of the focus, I feel like. And the way that everything has played out since May of 2024 case, I could see the argument when you can look at something else. I mean, would I move Shun Skywalker out? Probably not at this point, but I'm going to take a guess at your number 2. Jeez. I know it's not Sobrano Jr.
It's not, no. You know what? I'll even give you a hint. It's not
Okay.
a CMLL guy.
Okay. Is it just now full aboard Takeshita?
No, and I love Takeshita, but he is a guy. He's like the best wrestler that I would never consider voting in first place for. I always feel like I love Takeshita to death. I do think he's one of the best wrestlers in the world. There's like a quarter level higher that people go with him that I'm never there on, but I think he's incredible. But no, it would not be him.
Geez. If it's not gonna be Takeshita, I am drawing a blank. It's not Kiyomiya.
No, it's not Kiyomiya. Although Kiyomiya did incredibly well last year, and he's gonna be one of those weird guys where
it's just gonna be up and down for him.
Yeah, well, like he was coming off of the big Dragongate matches last year, which really helped him, at least for me. And I thought he was doing really competent work in Noah, but I can't really think of a Kiyomiya match that I've loved since the Gabe Kidd match last year, which I thought was a top 10 match of 2024.
Yeah, no, I mean, he just had a really strong thing, and I think that's where I say, like, how I see the argument that Shun's last 12 months within this period is not as impressive as the other ones. It's always going to be what he's doing and who he's working with, and the fact that the Noah crowd still with Team 2000 and Ozawa are kind of using this run as like a denunciation of his kind of tenure. I think it makes it tough for him to be a number 1 slot again.
No, I would not put him there. He will be one of those guys that I think falls a little bit. Obviously, history has proven me correct on the crop of New Japan guys, Suji not included. I think Umino is going to fall. I think you're out of your mind if you're voting for Narita. It's none of those guys. Mike, I think the only person that could rival Shun Skywalker for my number 1, when you talk about somebody who's already great, already a star, but I think has the potential to be an even bigger star. Am I crazy for thinking that Kyle Fletcher might be the best wrestler under 30 years old right now?
Okay, I think if we're using that 12-month window, when I rationalize your betrayal of Shun Skywalker, within that 12-month window, you have so much with Fletcher. I mean, you even have his CMLL run. So,
yeah, look, I think Fletcher versus Ospreay is one of the great feuds in AEW history, and it will never be remembered that way because of when it started, where business was at. And I get that, and it makes sense. And I'm not even somebody that really loved the cage match. I thought it was too long, and I thought it was dumb they didn't finish on the Spanish fly out. I thought it was dumb they didn't finish off the Spanish fly off the top of the cage. That, to me, I mean, look, the match could have ended 10 minutes before the Spanish fly.
Yeah, I was going to say the Oz cutter off the cage was the much better move and definitely looked a lot more impressive, and that's what I would have had it close out on personally.
Yes. Yeah, no, it was too long, but I don't know, man. I watch Fletcher, and I just think this guy is becoming a borderline perfect Americanized pro wrestler.
He gets it now.
I mean, what he has done with Will, the Mark Briscoe match, which is, I think, far and away the best AEW TV match of the year. All the Continental Classic stuff that he did. Like you said, I really liked that Atlantis Jr. match. He was great in the Grand Prix and CMLL. I'm not saying that Kyle Fletcher is better than Shun Skywalker right now, but I am saying between now and May, I kind of need Shun to prove to me that he's number 1.
Could a successful SSW Quest IV do that for you?
Well, I mean, he's gonna wrap up Booker of the Year here pretty quickly. I gotta look to see. Let me do this right now. They added a
The pre-show.
they did have the pre-show. I was gonna say they added additional standing room only seats. By the way, as I log on to Gaiora's website, every time I check to see if Big Boss Shimizu is still on the roster,
He's
and
on it.
he is.
Yep.
So no updates there. Let me see. Oh, they
Good.
don't have the ticket page on the Gaiora site. Damn,
Yeah,
I don't know
had
if
to
that's sold
go.
out.
I had to go into their Spora to get the match listing because they don't have it on any of the Gaora stuff. Yeah, like I had to go down to a listing for the tournament goods to find it out.
Damn, let me see if I can find this really quick. He's got merch, he's got towels. We've got what looks like a really great card, and do we have? Okay, I can't. Oh, tickets for this event are sold out, including standing room only. My goodness. So I know it's Shinjuku Face, but he sold out this show immediately, and then they added standing room tickets, and now those are sold out. So I mean, it's look, the New Japan guys are the draw. It's a spot show, a produce show, a random show that doesn't mean anything canonically.
It's likely filling the slot that they had when they thought they would still have more sponsored Buyudens, probably.
Exactly. But you know what? A lot of wrestling takes place in Shinjuku Face, and I don't know if there will be a more crowded Shinjuku Face show over the course of 2025. So my hat's off to Shun Skywalker. I mean, look, this show has buzz. This is one of those things that I think even you and I, who are a little bit unenthused with how Dragongate has gone in 2025, where it's been good, but it's not been great, and it feels like they lost momentum somewhere along the way. And even the people that I think have largely been checked out, maybe they watched Yamato versus Strong Machine J, maybe they watched Yamato versus KZ, but they haven't watched any of, say, the Rey De Parejas stuff. I feel like SSW Quest has kind of captured that person's attention. And the atmosphere for that show, for as much as we complain about it on a Dragongate proper show, I mean, I expect SSW Quest to be full on bonkers. I am really, really excited for what this show could be, even if I recognize it's a produce show. New Japan guys might not work super hard, and the show might just end up being okay. But the atmosphere that they've created just in the lead up to it has me extremely excited.
Yeah, and I think you compare it to like the Despi Invitational and the ridiculous Taiji Ishimori show, and what you really saw was that the crowds will build up whatever it is. And I think that I more specifically think of the Taiji Ishimori show in the way that you had probably some of the more like dedicated hardcore Dragon System people there, just because of how they really made a big point of celebrating like that kind of time with that, and just the idea of this kind of show for one, and the timing of it like coming like in the middle of a pretty bog standard tag league, where now you have like the excitement about like, oh, Diamante is going to put, or Luz Monte is going to be forced to put his mask back on, and he's teaming with X. We've been seeing Dia Inferno around for a long time. Could we be seeing him there? And then the mask, the whole deal about, oh, this is going to be a new Mask Z character coming on against Rita. I just think that there's a lot to really enjoy with the show, including the fact that, I mean, Shun in his infinite / psycho wisdom decided, oh, I'm going to make Dia, Kame, and Yamato be on my show, and they're required to show up, and it's going to be the pre-show match. And I think that that's just, I think it's going to be an absolute blast next Monday, and I'm going to be real looking forward to us getting to talk about that, which is like the frustrating thing with Rey De Parejas is that it's not that it's a bad tournament. It's just that they're almost all of the spice right now, the promotion is going towards both SSW Quest IV, as well as it feels like a lot of the attention is going towards the Dragongate Mania show.
Which, I'll say this, Shun Skywalker's such an interesting guy because we really don't know a ton about him. And even like, since he's been a heel, it obviously, I mean, it shuts down a whole other mode of communication when it's already hard enough to try to get information on these Dragongate guys through various sources. But when you're a heel, it's incredibly hard. But we don't seem to know a lot about him. Other than that, he seems to kind of slack off when he's in America, but Mexico seems to really matter to him. And he's just at an interesting point in his career where it's not that he feels bigger than Dragon Gate and in the same way that like maybe Shingo did towards the end, but Shun, credit to him, has really started to carry himself like a megastar. And even as the lead heel, it comes through. And now, look, I said this 2 weeks ago. I, I am just going to bed every night fearful that Kota Minoura is going to be the reason that Shun Skywalker turns face, because Kota Minoura is not a strong enough heel for Shun Skywalker to bounce off of as a babyface. But with a show like SSW Quest, it's I feel becoming harder and harder for Dragon Gate to not just hand the guy, no pun intended with the Dreamgate keys, but just to hand him the keys to this promotion and say, go be our biggest star. It seems like they still have him
A parallel slotted.
patiently waiting. This promotion, I mean, historically, it's always been this way. This isn't a Ryo Saito thing. Historically, this promotion is so patient and they are so slow with some things. The benefit is that, Shun they are going so slow with, but I actually think it's working for them. And I love the way they've handled him for the last 5 years. I mean, since 2019, I've loved just about everything they've done with him. But it does feel like we're inching more and more towards a situation where there is the Dragon Gate roster, and you have your biggest star on the Dragon Gate roster, and then you have Shun Skywalker who's kind of off on his own island. It's something to watch. If I don't know anything, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but if we hit a scenario here by the end of 2025 where Dragon Gate's got Kobe and Fukuoka and Osaka coming up, and there's also a Shun Skywalker weekend getaway to IWRG and West Coast Pro, I don't think it's going to shock me. I think he feels like he's on the verge of becoming a bigger star than he already is. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I feel like with the way that he, at least with the title pictures, really, and just the way that they book him, I mean, look at his 2025. Well, he is the only person in now almost a calendar year case to beat Yamato one-on-one. And that's such like a huge kind of feather in his cap. And in a way, when he said that the Dreamgate doesn't interest him, it's like, yeah, no, it doesn't interest you. You have a lot bigger things on your plate, probably. You just put them in the dirt. Like, we're not going to worry about that at that point. But you still have that dingling proposition. And it does make you wonder that if he ever does have that attention turned back to the title, is that your exit strategy? And is that exit strategy also with the idea that when he gets that match, he probably needs to be a face for a time period? I don't know. It's just, it is kind of unique in a way that, without, again, knowing or really speculating, it's a lot of late period Shingo energy, to be frank.
Yeah, it is. And I don't totally know what to do with that. And, again, I watch him as a heel and I think, why change this if you don't have to? And there's a chance that if maybe they don't turn him face by this summer, maybe they miss their window and we won't know that until after the fact. But I'm kind of a believer with this character specifically that you just have to ride it into the ground until you can't anymore. And it sounds weird to say because he's my favorite active wrestler. And it would probably be beneficial for the company at this point if he was a babyface. But I'm not interested. I say this all the time. Like, Shun's been a heel now for 3 full years. My YouTube just recommended me the Gaiora upload of Eita and Ishida getting kicked out of RED and Shun joining RED, which would become Z-Brass the next month. It's been 3 years since that happened. But then I look at the roster and I go, well, there's still more that he could do with natural vibes. And, now that Gold Class has been and Kame and Rita and Junior, like, I still want to see him wrestle Gold Class. Oh, and Yoshioka just came back. I want to see him wrestle Yoshioka more. Oh, and then there's Mochizuki Dojo. And I obviously want to see as much of him and Sahara and him as Yanagiuchi as possible. And Shun used to be a Mochizuki Dojo. So even being a heel for 3 years, I don't feel like we're anywhere near the finish line. I mean, this must be how Bloodline fans feel, where it's just like, we're only in the 6th inning. It's like with Shun and Z-Rats, I'm like, we're only in the 6th inning. Like, let him cook. Let him keep going.
Yeah. I'm like, what's the solve? My answer for the Kota Minoura problem? Put him under the Diane Fro mask, and then we get another 3 more years of Shun as a heel. Let's just take that issue out at the knees, because there's so many things that you really have to do. And then you also have the idea of, at least with how he has been presented and how he works with Hamare, eventually he's going to grow tired of Hamare, not fulfilling what Shun believes is going to be his obligations. And then, okay, that's something else he can do as a heel. Like, there's just so much that I know that there's the idea of the window, and especially with everything in business, it does seem like that kind of might be a very appetizing exit ramp from this Yamato run, but it just like it feels like that it's just like you're doing that, and it's just because you feel like you need to go to him versus, oh, this is the right time for that turn.
Yeah, look, I mean, I feel the same way about Yamato. I'm not ready for him to give the title by any means,
Right.
because I think he's still the best world champion in wrestling. Now, Omega's got a big title. We'll see if that changes. But, until Omega has a series of match of the year contenders, Yamato's going to be the pick. Yamato is the guy who I think is the best world champion in wrestling right now. And so I'm not ready for that reign to end either. I'm far less bothered by whether it's him as a babyface or a heel, Shun versus Yamato as the world main event. I'm far less bothered by that than I am the thought of heel Minoura, babyface Shun. And it's crawling around my skin, this idea that, I mean, we might be stuck with another summer where Coach Minoura is just forced onto us in a way that I can't imagine being enjoyable for anybody. I mean, when you go back through history, Mike, is there anyone that has felt as overpushed at times as Coach Minoura has? Because you could say, like, man, there used to be okay, I guess, but yeah, Minoura's better than T-Hawk, though. I mean, Minoura's better than T-Hawk at the end. Minoura's not as good as 2014 T-Hawk.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, is like I would take T-Hawk's at least first Kobe World main event over the ones we had from Minoura.
Because, like, you could say, like, Gamma, but Gamma was, I mean, he was never a top-of-the-line guy the way they're trying to make Minoura, with the exception of the Shingo disastrous title match from December of 2015. So, yeah, you kind of have... I mean, I'm just trying to think of other main eventers that they really tried with that didn't work and then they stuck with. And
I mean, maybe that first Shingo title run, like they stuck with him longer.
I mean, yeah, but Shingo
that was circumstances, though. Too.
It was circumstances, and also it's hard to compare the two, because even then, Shingo at his least amount of impact in the box office was still an unbelievably amazing pro wrestler. And Minoura can be very good, but 2008 Shingo was another conversation compared to 2025 Minoura. So again, I still think the more accurate Minoura comp is Eita. I think T-Hawk is a step too strong, because T-Hawk by the end, for those that weren't watching in 2017 and 2018, like Millennials era T-Hawk, so 2013 through 2015, even if he wasn't great, he was capable of having great matches. And I was into the Millennials. I was into the whole act. I liked his look. I liked him. Great matches with Tozawa, Yoshino, Shingo, etc. By 2017, 2018, he's in a dreadful unit, the worst heel unit ever in Antias. The T-Hawk Eita reunion was like attending a funeral every time they would wrestle. There was nothing enjoyable about it.
And you could tell the guys hated each other.
And his matches were bad. It's just like, by the end, it's not even like you go, well, he's not over, but you know what? He's killing it. Just put your head down, T-Hawk, and try harder. It was like, no, the guy sucked. Whereas, and we don't totally need to litigate this. I'll try not to repeat myself. But when Eita got handed the car keys after T-Hawk left, oddly enough, it was like, man, he's just not good enough for the position they're putting him in. Eita's a rock solid mid-carder that they're trying to make a main eventer. And, if Minoura was the second leg on a Triangle Gate team, I'd finally shut the fuck up about Coach Minoura. But they're not positioning him like that. They're positioning him with budding tension with Shun Skywalker. And I just have a horrible feeling we're going to have to spend our whole summer talking about how Coach Minoura is not ready for that spot, because outside of direct interactions with Rita, which, again, the human carry machine that is Rita, I'm just not seeing it. I don't buy that Shun Skywalker is going to make this guy better. I don't think he has it in him. And if I were Dragon Gate, I would be putting him behind Kato and Ishin and just letting him do the hyper footwork parts of a trios match. But I would throw in the towel. I would rather, tell me if this is a step too far, Mike. I would rather see Kai be the one that turns on Shun Skywalker and we get prolonged Kai versus Shun rather than Shun versus Minoura.
Yeah, just because I think that the Kai babyface run is just like at the time that'd be like, yeah, no, this makes sense.
But even if it was Kai as a heel, if it was Kai saying, hey, you've been trying to lead my unit for 3 years, fuck you, get out of here, and it's heel Kai against babyface Shun, I would rather see that than Minoura. You know why? Because I know that there's a lower ceiling with Kai than there is with Minoura. Minoura's got a higher ceiling, but also the floor is drastically different as well. And I know Kai can at least show up in a singles match, in a big singles match, and do his job well.
Yeah, and I think that you have a positive track record in Kai in that slot, and you still struggle to this day, other than after winning the King of Gate in 2023, you really struggle to kind of present Minoura in that realm. Like, it's just not at that level. And I feel like when you look at the booking case of Minoli during this tournament, it's not that they are winning like conclusively. It has been, oh, all right, since we have last gone to Dragon Gate content, all right, you go and you start with the show in Saitama. There was a belt shot that completely killed the flow of the match, and then good time limit desperation. But you have the thing that, oh, Jack kicked out of the gear shift, which has been belt shot gear shift for this entire calendar year. That continues with Minoli throughout the tournament. And it's not that they're being booked as like this monster Twin Gate champion team. They're booked at, they've been essentially getting by the skin of their teeth.
Yeah, I don't mind the belt shot stuff only because it's been so heavy-handed that I assume it's going somewhere, and I assume when they lose the belts that Jason's going to clock Minoura or Minoura's going to clock Jason, and that's kind of how they lose.
Yeah.
So I haven't been bothered by that, even if again it's not subtle. They're doing the belt shot in every single match, but it's just funny watching that because I say this as a as a backhanded compliment, I guess, but they're a perfect Weasley mid-card tag team. Jason Lee's in his element doing this sort of stuff. He's been one of the, he might be the standout wrestler of Rey De Parejas, because again, it hasn't been an awesome tournament, but Jason has kind of been in all the matches I've really liked because he's doing his, tag team wrestler, was amazing the first 2 years of Rey De Parejas when they brought it back as the babyface. This is his first year as a heel and he's crushing it. But Minoura is just doing a mid-card heel act. And then whenever Shun gets involved now, it's like, all right, we got to buy him as a main eventer again. And again, he's pretty effective when he's next to Jason Lee, even if I think Jason steals the spotlight in almost every match. But then I have to shift gears, no pun intended, and try to buy into this idea that he's a mid-card with Jason, but he's also on Shun's level. And it's not working for me.
Yeah, especially when you look at other acts. I mean, I watched the entire show from Nagoya, and you have Matt, and you had a 8-man tag gold class versus Minoli, Kai, and Ishin. And who is the character president in that match 1 through 4? It's Ishin, then a little bit of Kai and Jason. And you just really clearly kind of see and then of course into the finish where Shun misses with the cookie sheet. Rita gets the one chance, which is his headlock takeover clutch. And it's okay, you have this win here in a match that, really was carried by the heel side from Ishin as well as gold classes dives, really.
Yeah, so this is, let me think about this. I'm all confused on what matches took place when. Hold on, let me pull up this card real quick because I've been lost. Mike and I were talking before we started recording. All I wanted was this 315 show in Okayama to get uploaded somewhere because it had Hamare and Shun versus Ben and Jr., which is the match that I think I want to see most from the tournament. But alas, we did not get that. But we did get, yes, that 8-man in Nagoya that was, effective at prolonging the story. But I don't know. This whole Rey De Parejas stuff is weird. Let's go back to the 6th, because the last time we
Okay.
talked about Dragongate was the 5th. We
Right.
talked about the Yokohama show, which was KZ and Strong Machine J versus Ben and Junior, and Ishin and Kato versus Jackie and Rita. So let's go to the 6th. Start there. Saitama. I know we talked about this a little bit, but let's kind of reset here and thoroughly go down our Rey De Parejas thoughts, if you don't mind.
Yep, let's do that. So right now, we'll be talking about Saitama through Nagoya, the 6th through the 10th, 4 shows, and we kick off from the Rey De Parejas coverage with Kamei and Rita entering the match with 2 points versus Minoli, who entered the match with 3. It is a time limit draw after Jack kicks out of the gear shift right at the 20-minute mark.
So this is my favorite match of the tournament so far.
Okay. It was not mine. It was not I have a notebook match, but it's not this.
Okay, so this would be mine. I went 4 stars on this. Well, it's the best match of the tournament. My favorite is still the Sahara match from Corkin, and that's just one of my favorite matches of the year. But this is the best match I've seen so far. And I think it goes to show with Kame and Rita and Jason, it was a paint by numbers version of what they typically do. But I think those 3 are so good that when you give them 20 minutes, I didn't know this was going to be a time limit draw when I watched it. And so getting sucked into that last 5 minutes, especially when the Z-Brats nonsense really ramps up and the desperation from all of those guys really ramps up, it really struck a chord with me. I thought this match was excellent. And Kame Rita, I'm dying to know if the plan was always for Kame to join Gold Class, or if they really did accidentally strike gold with him and Rita teaming in December, because that team looks like they've been teaming for a number of years now.
Yeah, and easily I would say Kamei and Rita have been the team of the tournament from what we've seen so far.
Yes, I would agree with that.
The other match we had in Saitama, Animal Japan walking into this match with 2 points. That's Hio and Kuroshio, Tokyo, Japan, versus Benkei and Junior, who also come in with 2 points. It is a Kuroshio headlock takeover on Junior during a German suplex attempt, winning the match for Animal Japan. They moved to 4 points.
Yeah, this match happened. That is the best I can say about it. It's such a bummer. We end up getting more Rey De Parejas footage than we thought we were going to get, and Jiro is just present in every upload.
Yeah, and the one thing I'll say is, Ben is a weird enough dude that him and Kuroshio kind of had comedy chemistry, but that's not really what I want out of Ben these days. Like, we're out of that chicky phase of his career.
I agree, and I love him and Junior as a team, but this was not what I want out of them.
Yeah, Junior kicking the shit out of Eichmann was fun, though.
It was.
Taxes was feeling so stuck. Sitting in traffic, squeezing into a parking spot, all to squeeze in getting tax help during your lunch break. Now Taxes is a TurboTax expert who does your taxes for you, while you go about your day getting real-time notifications about their progress and the most money back guaranteed. Now this is Taxes. Intuit TurboTax. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live Full Service. Real-time updates only in iOS mobile apps. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees.
We moved to Mie on the 8th. Only one match that was uploaded. The original Jimmy's team. This was actually their first match of the tournament. They somehow managed to go through the first full week without having a match. They're going up against the Mochizuki Dojo pairing of Ryu Fuda and Daiki Yanagiuchi. Is the Gura Makakari on Daiki, and what I thought was kind of an up and down match.
So I think Susumu and Kagetora and the stuff we've seen from them, I think they've been awesome. I really liked, the other match that we've seen. But you're right. This was, it's you want to have a take, but you also don't want to react to a house show match. It wasn't as electric as Daiki has looked at all in 2025. This was one of his lower effort, or at least lower spectacular matches. And Fuda, I don't think he added a ton here.
Yeah, I thought Fuda was just kind of there and existing. We moved to Hiroshima with 2 matches. All 5 of these matches are on the Dragongate YouTube channel, so make sure, if you've not checked them out yet, give them a watch. And I know that they're looking to see engagement, so throw them a thumbs up on that as well. But as we move to Hiroshima on the 8th, we had Yama Hulk versus Ben and Junior again. This time, Junior ducked out of a second first flash. He took one of them and kicked out, and Ben hits a spear on Hulk to move the gold class team to 4.
So I really like this match. I'm
I was
curious.
3 3/4.
Okay. I was too. Again, I went notebook on the gold class versus Z-Brats match. I went 3 3/4 on this and one other match that we'll talk about here in just a second. But man, this match was physical. I really liked the way these two teams approached it.
Yeah, and it really felt like that Yamato and Ben, when you have Yamato opening a match and really doing that opening grapple, it just feels like those two are kind of natural, like chemistry with the way that they kind of do this. But really, the star of this match for me was Junior just taking a tremendous ass kicking, and that's kind of been how much fun this tag team is, because you get to see the guys at like their best, like individual attributes, right? Junior, what he has done great, especially since they took the training wheels off him in the Ishin feud. He is one of the most compelling baby faces in peril in wrestling, and you have him taking a beating from Yamato and Hulk and not holding back with them, and then you have Ben, who is as good of a hot tag as we've seen in recent years, and I just think that you meld them together, and it's wild that both of the gold class teams, I feel like, because I have another note here saying, like, I really enjoy Junior and Ben. Maybe they're the early team of the tournament for me, but it's just really kind of magical how they've hit gold with these two pairings.
I'm really bummed that we're not getting Junior in Las Vegas, just because, it'll be his third year in wrestling this year, and I don't think the right people have seen him work yet. And I'm always surprised when I send Dragongate stuff to people and I rave about Junior and they go like, yeah, just, he's fine. Like, but I don't really see what you're saying. And I'm always so confused by that, because he's this rare talent. It's almost Yamato-esque, which I know is a lofty comparison, but he's really good at taking a beating and not looking weak ever. And that's an incredibly valuable asset to have. It's an incredibly impressive asset to have. And Hulk and Yamato just really took it to the guy in this match. But Junior, his hope spots are electric. You're right. Ben K's hot tags are incredible. And I guess not looking at any of the booking, not really paying attention to the standings when I make this point, just, thinking out loud here. If I was going to have a team dethrone Jason and Minoru right now, I think I would pick Ben and Junior. I just like this team. I want them around more. I said this last year before Gold Class had Kame, and Rito was able to find himself a partner there. But I just like these guys. I don't want to see anything change here. I think they work all really well as a team. But Ben and Junior as a tag team should be a Twin Gate champion type team.
Well, sadly, Case, that will not be coming because of Rey De Parejas. Ben and Junior are the only team that have completed all of their league matches, and there's no way for them to advance out of the B block.
That really sucks. God, would I like to see Shun and Hamare versus those guys. I'm so bummed. That's like the one match I was just really hoping we got.
No, I hear you with that. The other match that we had on Hiroshima, Minoli, the Open the Twin Gate champions, versus Daiki Yanagiuchi and Ryo Fuda of Mochizuki Dojo. Of course, Minoli entered this match at 4 points, and Daiki and Fuda enter this at 2. It was belt shot, low blow, gear shift, and then Jason Wings getting the win here. I think for me, this is when I was getting kind of bothered by the Minoli booking, and at least their kind of finishing stretches that we've seen all of, and they're kind of all the same thing, where they're just belt shotting even people like Mochizuki Dojo, where it does not feel like they need to be doing that.
That is probably true. Now that could be a deal. Again, I give patience to the belt shot stuff because it feels like it's going somewhere. And I don't know how to differentiate that between just like, oh, they're just using a title belt to use a title belt. But it does feel like it's going somewhere. Thus, okay, you're going to want to hit it on every show, even the house shows. I'll use the tired old example of 2014 G1. Bad Luck Fale using the bad fall on every show and everybody getting stretchered out. And it was repetitive and annoying, and we all got sick of it by like the third show. But you know what? They did it the entire tour, and then it got over. I'm with you. I understand that, like, can you just pin Fuda and look dominant for a change? But the belts are being used so much that I give them the benefit of the doubt until I don't.
That's fair. So you clearly liked it more than I did. So what did you enjoy of this one?
I like Jason and Daiki in the ring together. It's
They are fun together.
Yeah, Daiki has a lot of the same qualities that I think make Jason Lee a great wrestler. Just in terms of the way they move around the ring, a lot of their offense feels like it's interchangeable with the other guy. At least Jason Lee is a babyface, so look, you're behind the 8 ball when you've got Minoura and Fuda in a match. But the benefit is, I really liked him when Jason and Daiki were wrestling together.
That's fair. That's fair. And our last Dragongate Rey De Parejas action that's happened since we've last talked, we got the full show of Nagoya up on the Dragongate Network. This was the one show out of the 4 that is solely for Dragongate Network subscribers. And interesting kind of show. I mean, we're already kind of feeling the pains in Nagoya going to that building versus Congress Center, I felt like.
Oh, such a bummer. I mean, the Congress Center is one of the better looking buildings they have, and it has been historically a building that they've done exceptionally well. And if you go back to our shows in 2021 and 2022, we spent an extensive amount of time breaking down the Nagoya market because, again, Ultimo's from there, Dragon Kid's from there. When SB Kento looked like he was going to be somebody that was relevant in the world of professional wrestling, he was from there.
He drew numbers there, like, let's be fair.
He drew numbers. I mean, he had sponsors there. It was a thing. We'll go back to UT and SB Kento, their Bravegate match, outdrawing either a GHC national championship match.
Oh, no, it was a world title. It was Funaki, I think, versus Nakajima.
That certainly sounds like something that would get outdrawn by Kento and UT, so I'll take your word for it. But, it's one of the things that, we're trying to do when we go to Vegas is we're trying to set up as much media as we can with the Dragongate guys, which is an uphill battle on a number of levels. But Ryo Saito's making the trip, and, behind the scenes, Mike and I are kind of lobbying to be able to sit down with Ryo Saito for a few minutes. And one of the things that I'm most curious about is you're losing Nagoya. You're losing what really might be your best market outside of Tokyo and Kobe, and even then might be your best market outside of Tokyo. What are you guys going to do? Because the Tsuyashi Sports Center, let me tell you, does not have the same vibe as the Nagoya International Conference Center.
Yeah, no, like, that's definitely a real pressing question for them. We did have the penultimate show at Dolphins Arena this last week.
Oh, what was it?
Oh, it was the New Japan Cup show there.
Oh, I did not realize they were in Dolphins Arena for the New Japan Cup.
Oh yeah, that's the only building they touch in Nagoya is Dolphins.
No. Well, hold on. Oh no, that's 525. That's a Super Junior show. Sorry, Cage Match confused me. Hold on. Let me find Nagoya here. 315. Dolphins Arena, son of a bitch. Oh, okay. It was Goto versus Nagata. Okay, I thought they headlined with a New Japan Cup match. I was gonna say, man, that's really ballsy. But no, okay. Nagata versus Goto. That's right. I have not seen that yet, but I will watch that.
Yeah, getting to our Nagoya show, though, we opened up with Yamahulk being at 2 points versus Shun and Hamari, who entered at 0. Kind of, I would say, an upset with Shun and Hamari winning, especially with Hamari's position on the roster. It was a Hamari out of nowhere super kick and then a jackknife pin hold by Shun, getting the win over Yamahulk here. So Shun gets a win over a Triangle Gate champion. I guess that entitles him to a title shot, but I would argue that Shun could probably make those shots if he wanted to anyways.
So it's funny, like, you and I came on here and we're a little down on Rey De Parejas, and it's not the tournament that it had been the last few years. And then I start talking about these matches. It was like, okay, 3-6, to sort of almost recap our recommendations. Like, 3-6 had Kame and Rita versus Jason Minoura. And I went 4 stars on that. So I obviously really liked it. And then you look at 3-8 and it's like, oh, there's nothing there. You can skip past that because Kage and Susumu versus Daiki and Fuda wasn't entirely worth watching. And then you go to 3-9. It's like, well, we both really like Ben and Junior versus Hulk and Yamato, so that's worth watching. And then you look at this Nagoya show, and I only watched the tournament matches, but I liked 2 of the 3 tournament matches a lot, including this one, because I thought Hamari had one of his best performances of his very young career here.
Yeah, I felt like Hamari and Yamato, like Yamato's glee whenever he gets to beat up a younger guy who's a prick, just works really, really well. And the chemistry that we've gotten to see from Shun and Hamari, really, I feel like similarly to Ben and Junior, but I would have to argue it's more pointed because Hamari is so limited at this point. They really do accentuate each other well, and it allows Hamari to kind of do his stick and move kind of offense.
I guess the shocking thing about this tournament is outside of the Hyojiro pairing, which even that makes sense. I just have no interest in it. But on paper, they've put every team in this tournament that I would want to see. You know, Homari and Shun, home run team. Daya and Yoshioka, home run team. Sahara and Mochizuki, Kame and Rita, Jason and Minoura. I guess I'm disappointed based on expectations because on paper, this tournament should be better. Like what we're getting is a lot of good to very good matches. But the last 2 years in Rey De Parejas, you know, you would have a notebook match on almost every show, and we're just not getting that right now. And also, the Cork and opener historically has been much better than the one we got this year.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I did watch the entire showcase, so I'll take us through the non-tournament matches. We had Johnny versus Ryo Tanaka. It was what you'd expect a Gianni singles match to be. It was a lot of fun. You kind of had the idea that Ryo Tanaka was going to basically try to let him do the Rita defense and just tire him out, but then took an opportunity to then when Johnny was trying to get into the ring to attack and get the jump. A good idea fails because it's Johnny Valletta. He wins, and I mean it's pretty by the books there. We're in UT's hometown, so he's teaming with Yasushi Kanda versus Kakuta and Monte. Here was our Daya Inferno appearance of the night. The Inferno distraction caused Kakuta to lose focus, and UT got the win over him with the Passion Clutch. So that was notable, and it kind of plays into what happened after the second Rey De Parejas match. And then, yeah, you had the 8-man tag that we talked about earlier, Gold Class versus Minoli, Kai and Ishin, and that's where you had the cookie sheet miss on Mino, allowing Rita to win with the one chance. And then we returned for the semi-main event and more tournament action. Rey De Parejas, the original Jimmys, Susumu Yokosuka and Kagetora standing at 2 points versus the 0 points Daya and Yoshioka team. Time limit draw case. This was my match of the entire week. I thought that this was really kind of the match where D-Courage kind of turned the corner, especially Yoshioka getting his groove back, and the work you had with him and Kagetora in this, I thought was really exceptional.
Well, let's end our Rey De Parejas coverage talking about this match because Hyo and Jiro versus KZ and Strong Machine J I thought was a brutal watch. Would you agree with me there, or am I being too hard on it?
I liked the SMJ and Hyo parts of it, but it was more worked kind of straight, but I think that was more because they just worked with Hyo. There was that, but for the record, KZ and Strong Machine J entered at 6 points. They were tournament leaders versus Animal Japan staying at 4. Animal Japan got the win of a jacket distraction Samson driver to make them at 6.
Okay, now that that's out of the way, I'm very glad you liked D-Courage versus Paradox as much as you did, because I watched it. I went 3 3/4 on it, and I thought maybe I was crazy, but I have the same exact takeaways as you do, which, again, not the most compelling radio. I do apologize, but it seemed like Yoshioka got his groove back. And when we talked about the tournament 2 weeks ago, we were talking about his first match back in Osaka, the 8-man, and then his 2 tournament matches that he had, one in Osaka, one in Corkin. And, you know, we had both made the point that it was like, okay, he doesn't look like the Yuki Yoshioka that we know, which wasn't even necessarily a criticism. I don't think you or I were expecting him to hit the ground running. You know, he's out of a very long time. This is what happens. But March 10th in Nagoya, it wasn't all the way there, but we definitely saw more glimpses of the Yuki Yoshioka that we know, and it's Kagetora who brought it out of him. And the sequences, the physicality between Kagetora and Yoshioka down the stretch of this match, again, one that I did not know was going to a time limit draw, that got me up off my couch, that I was into. Again, 3 3/4 for me.
Yeah, it just really was about that. And when we talk about how good the original Jimmys have been in this tournament, like another one of those teams that is just like, oh yeah, no, they're doing awesome. We love what they've been doing here, but it feels really kind of notable in its own way, just how well they've worked in this, and really how, once again, you give Kagetora something to do that he's into. You get to see one of the stronger wrestlers on the planet. I was a little higher, but it just I like the work based off of like the Gurukama. Why am I butchering this? I pronounced it right. All right.
I certainly can't help you, so you're on your own.
The Gura Makari counter that Kagetora was just running through him, and I had Yoshioka up trying to go for the Gura Makari, and Daya was able to interrupt that and hit the DDT, and I was like, all right, this is a notebook match, and D-Courage is back, baby.
D-Courage is back. It certainly felt like by the end of this 20 minutes, it was something that they could build on. It was something that going forward, I'm going to have my antenna up and be like, all right, I think, as we go into March 20th, they've got Ishin and Kato, which is going to be a huge match. That has the potential to be really good. And then let's see what they're doing on the Kame Homecoming show. We can't guarantee we're going to get that, but 323. It is
323 is
it's them against Fuda and Daiki Yanagiuchi. I am extremely curious to see how that match goes.
Yeah, so it's just an interesting time with them there. Kakuta comes out afterwards, berates Yoshioka because of Daya Inferno, and we kind of get the seeds already happening. It seemed like that everything was okay, and now suddenly everything's not okay with Indie Courage and Daya Inferno reappearing.
It's always one of these things with Dragon Gate where between the D-Courage stuff and the Zebrat stuff with Minoru and Skywalker, and in a weird way, I'll even mention Natural Vibes here, because if Shimizu ever comes back, he could be put in openers for 6 months, or he could come back and be a part of a story. I don't know, but we are in this holding pattern, and also Hyo not being in a unit really factors into all of this. We're in this holding pattern where it's not the most exciting. You and I come on every week and we go, all right, this show was good, but something feels like it's missing. And hopefully by the time we're at Dead or Alive, we've shifted up a gear. I don't know if that's going to be the case or if we're going to get it in the fallout to Dead or Alive, but there's a lot of things brewing right now, and I'm waiting for these things to boil. We're not there yet.
No, I totally get your logic with that, and it does kind of feel like you look at how this March schedule has kind of panned out, and you compare that to how April and May kind of feels, and especially with the Rey De Parejas finals coming when it does. One really has to, you look at that April 7th Cork and Hall show, and that does kind of feel like by that time we will have at least some sort of, okay, this is really what the direction is going to Dead or Alive, but it does feel like that there are a lot of there's a lot of plate spinning right now. Would you like me to go through the cards that we have coming up in Himeji, Tottori, and Gifu?
Yeah, go for it.
So we have the full cards coming up. This Himeji show, at least the Rey De Parejas matches will be making the Dragon Gate network or their YouTube. It's UT versus Luis Monte as an opener, Benkei, Rita, and Jackie Kamei versus Kai, Johnny, and Hamare, Madoka Kakuta versus Genki Horiguchi. We have then Rey De Parejas action, Animal Japan versus Mochizuki and Sahara. We get D-Courage versus Kai and Ishin, 6-man tag, Susumu, Kagetora, and Doi versus Shun and Minoli. And then the main event, we get Yamato, BB Hulk versus Strong Machine J and KZ.
Yeah, we are once again forced to watch an Animal Japan match. Not stoked about that, but Yoshioka and Daya versus Ishin and Kato could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, Yamahulk's been a fun team too. I mean, Yamahulk versus Natural Vibes is not
right.
not going to be a stinker.
Main event too. Now, if we get that full show, UT versus Monte, I will be sure to watch, because that also sounds like a ton of fun.
Oh yeah, no, I'm with you on that. Moving to Tottori, we don't really have it. It does not seem like Tottori will be making tape, but the card, Yoshioka, Daya, and Monte versus Kanda, Hyo, and Yanagiuchi. Mochizuki Jr. versus Johnny Valletta. Benkei and Don Fuji versus Minoli. Tournament action, Yamahulk versus Mochizuki and Sahara. KZ, UT, Strong Machine J versus Shun, Kai, and Hamare. Main event, Jackie and Rita versus the original Jimmies.
I hope those tournament matches make tape. I'd like to see those.
No, I'm with you on that. I'm looking at the schedule, and the ones that we have had the Dragon Gate logo have been the ones that made tape. So not looking very I don't feel optimistic.
No, although Sahara versus Hulk scares me a little bit. That could be the thing that finally shatters Hulk's body in half.
That's fair.
If I'm Hulk and I'm celebrating my 20th anniversary next month, I'm probably telling this rookie, I'm not going up for the Lanzar stage tonight, brother. Not going to work for me. But I appreciate the spirit, and I'll talk to you soon, okay?
Spinebuster, maybe. Maybe. Yamato, you want to take the Spinebuster for me, buddy? Okay, thank you.
I guess, I guess the Spinebuster is probably the better of the two. But if I'm Hulk, I'm probably just saying, maybe just don't touch me. Maybe I'd rather be kicked by Mochizuki than slammed by Sahara.
Yeah, no, that's entirely fair. Gifu on the 23rd. That is going to at least have the tournament matches running through the card, though. Benkei, Jackie, and Rita versus Yamato, Hulk, and Hyo. Mochizuki Jr. versus Ho-Ho Loon. Madoka Kakuta and Ryoya Tanaka versus Kai and Johnny Valletta. Strong Machine J, KZUT versus Shun, Ishin, and Kato. Your Rey De Parejas matches, you have D Courage versus Ryo Fuda and Daiki Yanagiuchi, and you have Original Genemies versus Minoli.
This should be a super fun show. I'm really curious to see what that main event looks like, the Jimmys versus Minoli, because I don't know why. I like the idea of Susumu and Kagetora working long matches. You know, even if this isn't a 20-minute match, I kind of want to see what it looks like at 17 or 18 minutes rather than 12 or 13. So I hope it gets time because Dragongate has this history. Like we referenced the Teok and Eita reunion earlier, or even the Kineska reunion. You know, sometimes they put together older tag teams and it just feels a little off. It feels a little just like, ooh, leave the memories alone. I don't feel that way about Susumu and Kagetora. In fact, I'm super into them as a team right now, and I wouldn't hate if the Dead or Alive Twin Gate match was Susumu and Kagetora against Minnow and Lee, assuming we get a Twin Gate match there.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that there's a lot that you're able to do with Paradox in that pairing. Running through the SSW Quest card, since we'll be on Monday. Main event, of course, Shun Skywalker, Kota Minoru, and Hamare versus Los Ingobernables de Japón, Shingo Takagi, Hiromu Takahashi, and Bushi. Ishin and Yoshiki Kato versus Diamante and X. Johnny Valletta and Shuji Shikawa will have a singles match, and the other singles match, Mask Z versus Rita in a pregame 6-man tag that the attendance is mandatory for Yamato, Dragon Dia, and Jackie Kamei.
Outstanding. Can't wait for it.
In case, unless you had anything else you wanted to touch on, I think that will probably do it for us this week.
Do you want to hit on WrestleMania weekend real quick? I've got the schedule pulled up here.
Yeah, I'll hand off to you for that.
Okay, so I'm gonna try to go show by show and not miss anything. But we got a bunch of match announcements and a few appearance announcements over the last week for the Dragongate stuff in Vegas, and obviously Mike and I will be there. I have never been to a WrestleMania weekend before. I'm quite excited. I'm really only going for the Dragongate stuff, and then we'll see what catches my attention along the way. But over the course of the last week, we had the stuff that really matters. I'll say it that way. Dragongate USA The Rebirth, which is the Wednesday night show at Palms Resort. We got Benkei and Hyo versus Willie Mack and Rich Swann versus Cole Radrick and Alec Price in a 3-way tag team match announced, as well as KZ versus Marcus Mathers. Scheduled to appear on that show, Yamato, Ho-Ho Loon, Ishin, Kota Minoru, Shun Skywalker, Susumu Yokosuka. Matt Seidel will be there saying, hi, I do not believe he's wrestling. And then Judas Icarus, Travis Williams, El Kukui, how do we pronounce that?
Kukui.
El Kukui is making his return to Dragongate, which is nice to see. And then Azumi, Starlight Kid, and as of today, Ultimo Dragon. That is scheduled for the Wednesday night Dragongate show. I gotta say, KZ versus Marcus Mathers has me quite excited.
Yeah, and I feel like that you still have a lot of stuff that is going to be announced, and it could be pretty interesting stuff as well. And at least like comparing it between like other kind of appearances, I feel like KZ is kind of finally getting like the treatment we would expect out of KZ going for a WrestleMania show with the amount of matches he's game booked in singles.
Yeah, no, it feels like he's the guy that could kind of steal the weekend.
Yeah, no, it does kind of feel like that. We'll be interested to see how this all is kind of staged and set up, especially since apparently there's going to be a WWID championship tournament show before that.
Yeah, that can fuck all the way off. I have no interest in that.
We will probably be grabbing food before that, during that show.
Is it at the same building?
Same building, yeah, same
room.
I'm
not fucking going to that. I've got to make time for the Punk Rock Museum at some point on this trip. I was not planning on doing it Wednesday, but maybe I end up doing it Wednesday now. I tell you.
I have promised to go to the Vanderpump facilities, and that might be the time.
Okay, that's fun. I like that. So that is Wednesday. As of right now, on Thursday, we have Dragongate wrestlers scheduled to appear on Pandemonium Pro Wrestling. The House Always Wins. KZ again versus Cappuccino Jones, best name in wrestling. That is booked. And then Ben K and Yamato are also booked for that show. I say this with all due respect to the people at Pandemonium Pro. This show has a horrible vibe to it. And they have promised this show will be done in 2 hours. And
they have 9 matches announced. How can they possibly run through it unless all matches have like a 5-minute time limit?
Which, by the way, not the worst concept ever. If that is the case, I am now way more intrigued. But
I am so into what I could see Ninja Mac do in 5 minutes versus Mustafa Ali than like a 20-minute time limit. You know, like
I feel bad for Ninja Mac. He's gonna have ideas, and Mustafa Ali is not gonna want to do them.
I mean, Shelton Benjamin versus Kevin Blackwood in Into the G Rush match. I'm here for that.
Well, Shelton Benjamin versus Kevin Blackwood actually sounds awesome if Shelton wants to work. I don't have faith that Shelton wants to work, and I don't want to watch it on this show. I'm going to try to follow the Dragongate guys around as much as I can. As of right now, I am a no on this show. It just has a horrible vibe to it that I cannot shake. KZ versus Cappuccino Jones booked. Ben K and Yamato scheduled to appear.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I'll say is you'll be right next to the next Dragongate appearance happening at 3:00, the West Coast Pro Vegas Vacation with KZ, Yamato, and Dragon Kid's announced for this match versus I don't know what they're calling them now, right?
Is it Los Desperados?
Los Desperados. I forgot if they dropped like the toxic part. Yeah, Los Desperados.
Oh, maybe I might be wrong. I'm gonna guess Los Desperados, but don't take my word for it.
Yeah, Bendito, El Oni, Toxin, and Latigo on that West Coast Pro show.
It's a nice looking match. You know, that's going head to head with the WrestleCon Super Show, which
has Minoru Suzuki versus Butterbean.
Which, you know, again, they get it. It's not WrestleCon's first rodeo. Good for them. I know at one point I had somebody, let me phrase this carefully. I had somebody that is associated with WrestleCon ask me about the Dragongate guys that are coming over for WrestleMania weekend. I know nothing. I don't know if this person might have just been curious. This person likes wrestling, but I don't know if we're going to get Dragongate guys there. That's at the same time as the West Coast Pro show. But that West Coast Pro match looks tasty. That's a good little trios match.
Yeah, no, I am totally a lot more into that. And I mean, the rest of that show, I feel like Mao versus Jia Jewel. I mean, that's an interesting one. You won't catch me paying attention during Trevor Lee versus Timothy Thatcher.
I have seen too many bad WrestleMania weekend Timothy Thatcher matches. Fool me 7 times, shame on you. Fool me the 8th time, shame on me. That night, 7 p.m., this is Thursday, Prestige Wrestling, they have my money. Galeno Del Mal, Higel Dr. Wagner Jr., and Arez versus Shun Skywalker, Ishin, and Coach Minoura. My favorite match booked so far WrestleMania weekend.
Yeah, that one looks like a lot of fun. One. Prestige always kind of treats the Dragongate guys well. Of course, KZ versus Kevin Blackwood's going to be happening the week before.
That's right. Now, that show is going on at the same time as the Demand Lucha show, which had my attention with Gringo Loco, Arez, and Jack Cartwheel versus the Man Mike D, Briante RB, who I'm unfamiliar with, and Epidemus Jr., who should be on the Dragongate USA shows. He's not booked. I might have sent a few DMs about trying to get him booked. He's not on there. Unfortunately, the rest of that Demand Lucha show, Ray Horus versus Sam Adonis, is not going to get me to jump venue. So that is a tough one there. So that is what
I mean. Ultimate
like.
Maldito versus Archangel Divino might not be that bad.
If I'm feeling good on Thursday, I might talk Rich into driving us over there because Rich Craich and I, of course, will be attached at the hip, as will you and I for most of this weekend. But that is Thursday, and then Friday, as I scroll down here feverishly on the Voices of Wrestling WrestleMania weekend schedule. Friday we have the Dragongate Pro Wrestling Revolution show on Friday night, the Gate of Revolution, with Yamato versus Rich Swann, and then Shun Skywalker, Coach Minoura, and Ishin versus Ben K, KZ, and Hyo. Also scheduled to appear Dragon Kid, Ho Ho Loon, Fight Panther, Arrow Panther, El Kukui, Vare Morales, Willie Mack, El Bendito, Dave Dutra, Nick Ruiz, and Ultimo Dragon.
Fight Panther and Arrow Panther, I'm excited to see.
Fantastic. I'm trying to figure out who I'd like to see them wrestle. The problem is a lot of the core Dragongate talent's already kind of used up on that show. So I think they're kind of out of Dragongate guys to wrestle.
You know, it's a real bummer. The Martinez Entertainment show happening basically at the same time and like a block over, you know?
So, Mike, at the risk of sounding problematic as you take a big gulp, the Dragongate show starts at 8. The Martinez show is scheduled to start at 9. If I was a betting man, that Martinez show is starting at 9.
Yeah. No, I was about to say, I see where you're gonna go, where you're going with this, and let me head you off of that pass. No, you're like maybe you miss a match or two.
And seeing that Negro Casas is going to be there, I'm going to see Negro Casas at some point this weekend. I would much rather see him at the Martinez show than the Defy show that he's booked on at like 11 in the morning on Thursday. I really don't want any part of that. I
don't know if he wants really any part of that.
I think he's going to be stunned when he found out he was booked for that show. But the Martinez show, I would imagine I show face at. I can't think of a better way to end my weekend than a Martinez Entertainment show. I'm quite excited about that. Even if I don't particularly have any interest in like Blue Demon Jr., Psycho Clown and Negro Casas, they get me in the door for that.
Yeah, I mean, Psycho Clown, Negro Casas, that's a lot there. I mean,
Ciclope too. I you know, if it's midnight in Vegas on a Friday night, all of a sudden Ciclope sounds like a good idea.
No, hey, I mean, seeing where things are in Vegas and where that's based at, I have seen more sketchy wrestling shows at that part of town in Vegas.
Yeah, there's something about it that makes sense. I'm gonna have to send my mortal enemy JR Goldberg a DM and be like, "You're right. The Zona 23 roster is the best roster in wrestling. You're finally right about something, you fucking pretentious asshole. But no, Zona 23 is the best wrestling in the world. Shout out Ciclope. Maybe he can bring JR Goldberg and I together." Sorry,
Gosh.
it's a weird side swipe, but he popped up on my feed a few days ago, and I got angry. Not a fan.
Yeah, but that really shady show was like right outside of this nerd place that's just having Micromania the entire weekend.
Oh boy, that's
anyone who buys a ticket to those shows need to be put on a list.
Yeah, WrestleMania weekend is not the time to do that. Now, I know people in my own life that don't care about wrestling at all. And when Micromania comes to their town, they're like, "This looks like fun. I'll go see some minis." And it's, you know, it's whatever it is for those people. But if you're doing that on WrestleMania weekend, I find that to be very bizarre behavior.
Yep, right on a list.
On a list. So that is it. That is what WrestleMania weekend looks like now. I'm getting excited. I really do like what Dragongate guys have been booked for so far. I like the trios match on the Pro Wrestling Revolution show a lot. I like the trios match on the Prestige show a lot. I wish Fight Panther and Arrow Panther had a meaty opponent for that Friday show, but it's not looking like they're going to get one, which is a bummer.
Yeah, and I think in comparison to like last year and then like other times that Dragongate guys have been available in recent memory, it does feel like that there's been a lot more interest and care in it, and a lot of that could be that KZ has kind of been like, oh yeah, no, KZ at WrestleMania weekend seems to be a good kind of thing for a lot of people.
Is loser leaves GCW Atticus Kogar versus Fuego del Sol doing anything for you?
I didn't know that Atticus Kogar was back. I guess. Damn,
I didn't know he ever left.
Circle 6 must be down real bad.
I thought isn't Circle 6 like a West Coast promotion too? Shouldn't they be running?
Yeah. No, I mean, who's to say if like that whole like weird situation and like the guy left and is now doing a other like bar fighting deathmatch promotion in Houston now?
Oh, I'm sure that'll take off.
Yeah, no, I mean that sounds great, but
maybe I spend one of these days watching my new friends in Stardom Friday at noon. I could get into that. Azumi's going to be there. I've heard of her. She's going to be on the Dragongate show.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say that when I went to the Mania weekend in 19, the Stardom show was the most fun show I saw all weekend.
Okay, good. I would like to. Well, I guess I got to see what Deadlock's doing. I would like to go to that DDT show, but that all depends on the Deadlock lineup. So I will hold off on that. Mike, I think that is all I got. I do want to say before we go, we'll have another episode of Those Days out this next week. We'll finish off 1993. There's only a little bit of footage out there of the rest of Michinoku Pro in 1993, so we will cover all of that. I greatly appreciate the feedback that we've gotten on the first episode. We're recording this kind of right after the second episode came out. If you liked episode 1 and haven't listened to episode 2, I thought episode 2, in terms of my own podcasting performance, was 100 times better. So if you liked E1, you'll love E2. The feedback has been very nice. I appreciate everybody for listening to that.
Yeah, no, and it's been a whole lot of fun, and thanks for all the nice notes so far. And yeah, no, the story's only going to get more wild the deeper we get into this.
Yeah, no, it's there's a reason we're doing this. I'm really, really excited to see how this takes shape as we go along.
Absolutely, and that's going to do it here for us on Open the Voice Gate. You can follow us on social media at Open the Voice Gate. Case is _ in your case. I'm at Fuji Heya. If you'd like to join the conversation, the Voices of Wrestling Discord is a great place to talk about Dragon Gate. There's the Dragon Gate channel there, as well as the Open the Voice Gate special channel, and that's where for those days, we post the match and show lineups. There was a real fun conversation about, okay, what is the real reality of like the population kind of differences in Japan, and it's just whenever we have updates, we make sure they're on social media, but you also can check out there on the Voices of Wrestling Discord. But we'll be back with you next week talking all about Rey De Parejas and SSW Quest IV. It's time for Shun Produce. I'm really getting excited for it, Case.
I love it.
All right, we'll be back next week. Take care.
Hey everybody, my name is Jesse Collins, and I want to tell you all about my show, The Gentleman's Wrestling Podcast, here on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network. On the Gentleman's Wrestling Podcast, we do a thorough analysis on the biggest issues and trends within the pro wrestling industry. We talk a lot about pro wrestling media, we talk a lot about fan culture and wrestling's place within general pop culture, and we talk about the broader influences that are shaping the way we discuss and analyze the pro wrestling industry. We've had some of the brightest minds in the pro wrestling intelligentsia on the show, including WrestleNomics host Brandon Thurston, both Rich Craich and Joe Lanza from the Flagship Wrestling Podcast, Trevor Dame from the Through the Years podcast, and a whole lot more. This isn't a show for hot takes. It's not a show recapping the latest episode of television. This is a show focusing on the biggest topics in pro wrestling and doing a deep dive on the real stories behind the surface level analysis you might find elsewhere. The Gentleman's Wrestling Podcast is available wherever you get your podcasts, and we'd really appreciate it if you gave us a try. Thanks.